Good evening and welcome to Arizona Illustrated for Wednesday, the 14th of November, 2012. I'm Tony Paniagua. Veterans Day was just celebrated a couple of days ago, and residents in Arizona are taking this opportunity to raise awareness about the importance of providing jobs for this segment of the population and retaining them in the marketplace. Joining us to discuss a new report about this topic are Suzanne Kinney, the Executive Director of the Arizona Chamber Foundation. Also here is Craig Doyle, Arizona Regional President of Comerica Bank, and a captain in the Naval Reserves. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much
for
having us.
Suzanne, let's begin with you. So this report is called Economic Opportunity for Arizona Veterans. When was it commissioned and why was it even done in the first place?
That's right. Well, we commissioned the report a few months ago. Many of the major employers in the state are involved in the Arizona Chamber, and despite some persistent unemployment numbers, there continues to be challenges in filling some open positions. We also became aware that there are a lot of veterans returning from the Iraq and Afghan wars, and they have an unemployment rate at almost 11%. So we felt that there was a need to connect employers with these highly qualified veterans.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit about some of the goals in just a minute. But Craig, so you are in the private sector, but you are also serving in the military, and so you're able to see this combination of challenges. Tell us about that, if you will, please.
Yeah, as a senior military officer and also a leader in our business community, I see the opportunity to attract more veterans and employ the veterans we have in this state, and I'm very pleased at the level of effort we have with our chamber members in joining this committee and contributing to the effort to hire more veterans. We really have the list of the best companies in the state, largest companies that are making an effort. There just seems to be a gap between the will of these companies to hire them and the skill sets we have in the military, and that's why we have a higher unemployment rate, especially among those who have come back from the Gulf Wars, and our effort is to try and connect those two dots so we get more employed. Okay. Veterans make good citizens.
Great. And Suzanne, so what is one of the selling points? I know we were speaking ahead of this interview about, for example, somebody may have a lot of experience in a different field or a certain field, but they don't have a certificate or a diploma. And how do you try to get involved in this?
That's right. So one of these specific issues that we're looking at from a public policy perspective is for those occupations that require some sort of a professional certificate, allowing relevant military experience to count towards that. A number of other states have moved in this direction. And we really find that we want to get these veterans employed as quickly as possible. And if they have the skills, don't make them go back to school. Let's make it count. So.
And Craig, you say you try to connect companies with veterans, potential employees. That could be very beneficial for these companies.
Yeah, the veterans bring great skill sets. I think we're known for being able to get things done, take responsibility, accountability, and being able to execute, drive things to results.
What are some of the challenges for people who are leaving the military and entering civilian life that you've come across?
That's a great question. As the veterans return from the conflicts, and also those that are moving from active duty to retirement, the transition from military life to civilian life is a period of stress and significant change for them. And it's important that employers have veterans in the hiring process, because they help with that transition and help translate the skill sets, the understanding, and make it smooth for these veterans, especially those returning from the conflicts.
Okay. And Suzanne, so with this report, are you hoping that elected leaders get a chance to read it? Companies, what groups do you hope get involved and engaged in this process?
There are a few key audiences. One would certainly be elected leaders in terms of moving forward policies that can help that transition. The other is business leaders. There are a number of companies in this state that have best practices in place, whether it's a Raytheon, an Intel, an Amazon, a number of others, and many other employers that want to put those best practices in place. So we're hoping to connect those and get more good programs at employers to hire, retain, and recruit veterans.
Okay, and Craig, you are working with the Veterans and Military Affairs Committee. Are you trying to work with other veterans, or is it growing, or how is the process working?
Yeah, there's a lot of effort in this state to make this state very attractive to veterans. At the Chamber of Commerce, especially, and the chambers working together. As I mentioned, we've got the corporations are working hard. Also, different levels of government are working hard too to make this state attractive to veterans to locate to.
Mm-hmm. Are you optimistic about the future, Suzanne? We have all these people that could potentially be hired, yet the unemployment rate is quite high. What can be done in the immediate future to make a difference here?
Well, I think putting those best practices in place at businesses in terms of how they recruit, reach out to, and make these connections, as well as facilitating that through some pretty simple public policy changes that we can make, can actually have an immediate and significant impacts in the lives of veterans and their families.
All right. Finally, Craig, if you wanted to pitch somebody, a veteran, to get hired by a company here in Tucson or elsewhere in the state, what would you say to that employer?
To the employer, that these veterans are good citizens, they're good employees. They may need to learn your business, but they have the skill sets of leadership. They take responsibility, accountability, and most importantly, they execute against what they're asked to do.
Okay, well, Suzanne Kinney and Craig Doyle, thank you very much for joining us, and we will put a link to the report on our website. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
With more than 2 million inmates, the United States has the highest prison rate in the world, according to the International Center for Prison Studies. And there are tens of thousands of people behind bars here in Arizona. In Tucson, there's a local group that is trying to reduce these numbers by working with Islamic inmates. Amir Talib has that interview.
Joining me now is Imam Sidney Rahim Sharif, President and co-founder of the Islamic Inmates Corrections Association of America. Imam Sharif, thank you so much for being here.
Alaikum assalam. It's a pleasure being here, and I thank you for being invited.
Give us a brief overview of the mission of your organization and some of the services you offer Muslim inmates.
ICA, the Islamic Inmates Corrections Association of America, offers mentoring, counseling, and we do religious services at the institution itself when we're allowed to do so. When inmates are released, we help them get up on their feet socially, morally, and this is what we do. We assist them in getting identifications and just stabilizing themselves. If you can imagine a person being incarcerated for 5, 10, up to 20 years, he's kind of lost. ICA steps in and try to do what it can as an organization to assist that.
Now, whether it be praying 5 times a day or fasting and waking up at certain times during the month of Ramadan, which are both things that Muslims do, what specific challenges do Muslim inmates face as they try to practice their religion from behind prison bars?
The specific challenges are the reality that institutions are not designed to accommodate Muslims. That's just not a part of the spiritual makeup of institutions. They're there for one purpose and, quote, security, security, security. So those are some of the real challenges that we face. Some inmates are allowed more privileges to practice Ramadan and to salat, pray, than others, depending on what institution you're in and what the head of whatever the chaplaincy department says. So that is a problem, and oftentimes Islam is not really recognized as a way of life that any inmate should be entitled to. In other words, you can go to Christian services or other services without having to swear your oath that you are going to be a Christian. But in order to attend Islamic services, then you've got to go through a lot of hoops and what have you that really make it difficult for, say, for instance, an inmate who's not a Muslim but is interested in learning about the deen, wanting an opportunity to do so. So in a quick answer to your question, there are challenges. However, those who accept this deen and are really sincere, they do the very best that they can to overcome them.
Now, actually not just two of the primary ones, the primary goals of your organization is to reduce prison violence and the rates of recidivism. How do you measure if your services really do have that kind of an impact, if you're able to accomplish both of those things with the inmates?
Yes, by the outcomes. We have had inmates come out and present themselves as being straight. And they have found jobs, employment. They're maintaining themselves socially and economically, and they're striving to be upright. More so in many cases of people who claim to be Muslims. But we also have in the institution itself men who are actually showing that they are sincere about trying to correct themselves. We had a recent riot in a prison here in Wilmot where one of the Muslim inmates actually assisted one of the correctional officers to safety during the middle of that riot. So we do know that we get positive results depending upon who the individuals are and whether or not they're sincere in accepting La ilaha illallah.
And La ilaha illallah means there's no God but Allah.
There's no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. Yes.
Now, you've worked as a police officer for almost 30 years, and that was back in Chicago. How, that kind of experience of working in that area of law enforcement, how did that shape the way that you decided to run your organization, and how does it shape the way that you assist the inmates?
You know, as a young police officer, I began to see, especially African Americans, being processed like a commodity, going in and out of prison and pleading guilty. And I said to myself, wait, this has got to be a better way than this. I said, well, maybe Islam, you know, if I could get, or we can get people to kind of listen to this message, which really will correct their behavior. That's what set me off. And I began to do that.
Now, some of these people that you've worked with, I'd imagine that they've done, some of them, or maybe many of them, most of them, have done some pretty horrible things, which is why they're in prison. And then once they're in there, is whether it's they become Muslim or Jew or a Christian or whatever it may be, they find this spirituality. Why do you think it's in prison when they're incarcerated that they find God, quote unquote, or they find this connection to a higher being? Why did it take for them to come into prison for them to find that?
You know, they're in a situation now where they can think. You're quiet. You're in a cell. You have ample time to reflect on what you're there for and why you're living. And historically, biblically speaking and Quranically speaking, you have some of your prophets who were incarcerated. Yusuf, Joseph, Moses, many of them were in prison. And that's where they began to search themselves and find out that there is, in fact, a higher power, God, we call Allah, that is looking after them, and they put their trust and faith in that.
Almost out of time. I do have one final question. Mm-hmm. Many of these prisoners are going to be released back into the general population at some point. What is it that you hope for them once they're back in society?
That they can stand up and be the men they were created to be, the women they were created to be, and be a service to their community and to themselves. That's our hope.
Imam Sidney Sharif, thank you so much for being here.
You're quite welcome, and thank you for blessing me with this opportunity.
A cross-section of a giant sequoia tree that has been the centerpiece for learning about tree rings is moving to its new home on the University of Arizona campus. This segment is produced by Arizona Public Media's Tom Gillespie.
Towering up to 26 stories tall, the giant sequoia marks each year by adding a ring to its diameter, which can measure up to 20 feet. The width of each tree ring records that year's climate. The study of these rings is called dendrochronology and was developed here at the University of Arizona. One particularly notable cross-section of a sequoia from California has been the centerpiece of learning at the U of A's Arizona State Museum for about 75 years. Most recently held in storage, it's moving to a new home across campus at the new Bryant Bannister Tree Ring building. The success of this journey may come down to the width of one of those tiny tree rings.
It weighs a little less than 2 tons. It was about 1,800 years old when it fell over. It will be moved out in sections and then reassembled in the new building. Keep coming up, Chris. Coming down.
Up. Ready? Watching the dollies, okay?
It's about 10 feet in diameter, It came from Sequoia National Park in the 1930s. It was a gift to Dr. Andrew Douglas, who is the founder of the Tree Ring Laboratory.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close. Ready? Back there. It's fine. When we got to the door, the frame itself is a little wider than the doors themselves, so they're removing the doors now. Okay, hold that. How's that roller looking? Nice and slow. Okay, right there. I need to move my roller. I need another bar. Okay, I hit something.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm free. Oh, slow. Slow. You got it. Slow down. You got it. You got it. So clear.
Okay, hold that. It was close. We had about 1/4 of an inch. We were on rollers, probably an 1/8 inch from the ground, and we had about 1/4 inch up top. So it was close coming through the door. Got it?
It's just really cool that, that they're moving something that big and that it's finally getting a new home. It's pretty amazing. It's been here for a long time, so I'm interested to see it come out.
Okay, Tom, we decided to change out cranes. We're going to change out to a larger crane, just to err on the side of caution. We're going to go with a bigger crane.
This is only half the job for you, but I gotta go back to work.
It's gone great, yeah. It's slow and steady. That's the name of the game here. I guess in general, it's quite an operation, and you think, oh well, just move it over here, but there's quite a few steps involved, and it takes a little bit of planning. We're over in the new tree ring building. In a little bit, they'll bring it in through the doorway and hoist it up and roll it onto the platform up there and set it in place.
Coming.
We're just over the hump here. We're not the home stretch yet. The home stretch will be when we're putting the top pieces in place and we got the base set.
There's a new regional, binational, and multicultural alliance to document, celebrate, and conserve the farming and food culture in parts of the southwestern United States and its neighbors in Mexico. The group is called Sabores Sin Fronteras, Flavors Without Borders, and it recently participated in a border food summit here in Arizona. Luis Carrion has that story.
The U.S.-Mexico border is a geopolitical boundary that slices through the southwestern landscape. Looking at it from above, it's not difficult to see that there are few natural distinctions from one side to the other. However, this man-made boundary has created one of the largest gaps between the haves and the have-nots.
The U.S.-Mexico border is the border with the greatest economic and food disparity anywhere in the world.
Gary Nabham, among many other things, is a nature writer, author, and editor of 24 books. He's also a conservation biologist and sustainable agriculture researcher at the University of Arizona, where he's also
the Kellogg Endowed Chair in Sustainable Food Systems at the University of Arizona and the co-founder of the Sabores Sin Fronteras Foodways Alliance.
Nabham's work has looked closely at the Sonoran region food system, and he says Nogales is an example of a border dynamic that has far-reaching implications for residents on both sides of the line.
60% of all the produce eaten in the United States in the winter months comes from Nogales. Nogales is the most important port of entry for food anywhere in the world, and yet it's a food superhighway with no exit ramp right at the border. There's hundreds of thousands of people going hungry or being food secure within a 50-mile reach of the border on either side.
According to Nabham, food insecurity is concentrated along the border, but it also extends into the entire state. Recent studies peg the number of households in Arizona that are food insecure at 12.9% to 18.6%. And statistics rank Arizona third in the nation for childhood food insecurity.
This is the first border food summit ever.
Nabham says there is a newfound appreciation for the intricacies of a food system that straddles an international border. He says this recent conference brought together a diverse group of disciplines to discuss some of the topics included in a new report. It's titled Hungry for Change, Borderlands Food and Water in the Balance.
It's a report that looks at all aspects of our binational food system and reminds Arizonans and Americans how dependent we are on Mexican labor, water, ingenuity, skills, and resources to bring us our daily bread. And that really, however local we wish to be in our food system, we're still a binational local, that we're getting food from just south of the border as well as north of the border.
North and south of the border. Both sides of this geopolitical divide are part of an important equation. And Nabham says a big part of a healthy food system looks at how the people that produce food are compensated.
That's right. We want livable wages for farm workers as well as for farmers. Sometimes they're sacrificing tremendously and actually don't get the benefits of being able to afford the great food that is produced in this region. And so we really want to have farmers and farm workers taken care of first, because right now they happen to be among the poor.
Inequities along the border have been exacerbated by drought, and water's an important piece of the puzzle. According to Nabham, this link with the natural environment is an example of how we all have a stake in the conversation about where our food comes from.
A conference like this, the Border Food Summit, is not just for farmers, although half the people in this group have been involved in farming in some way or another. It's really for all of us from different cultures, ethnicities, and languages, because each of us plays a role in the food system. So food service workers, farmers, school cafeteria managers, farmers market managers, educators that are working on farm-to-school programs all have a stake in this, and all need to think of themselves as co-designers of this future food system.
As populations grow, efforts are underway to build more just food production and distribution networks. And Nabham says everyone has a stake in ensuring that this borderland food system serves the needs of all that depend on it. You can find a link to the full report, Hungry for Change, by going to our website at azpm.org.
Now we go to Christopher Conover and this week's edition of Political Focus.
Even though counting for this year's election is still continuing, much of the political world is already beginning to focus on the next race. In Arizona, that means the governor's race in 2 years. A number of names are surfacing right now, including Governor Jan Brewer. She told the Arizona Republic that people are encouraging her to run, and it's something she's thinking about. There is a rub, however. Brewer was elected in 2010 after serving out the last 2 years of Governor Janet Napolitano's term. That means if Brewer were to run again, it would be for her second complete term and a third overall term. Arizona's constitution says governors may not serve more than 2 consecutive terms. And the definition of a term is laid out in Article 5, Section 1, Version 2, which says, quote, "No member of the executive department after serving the maximum number of terms, which shall include any part of a term served, may serve in the same office until out of office for no less than 1 full term," end quote. Despite that, Governor Brewer says some legal scholars have told her she can run for another term. If Brewer does decide to run, court cases are sure to follow. And that's this week's Political Focus.
In tonight's video postcard from photographer and editor Jay Blaine, we bring you some of the sights and sounds from a competition between Arizona marching bands that was held at the University of Arizona last month. Coming up tomorrow night, we'll tell you about an event that is trying to raise funds to fight cystic fibrosis. And we'll introduce you to a Buddhist Lama from Nepal who is traveling the world to spread a message about education. I'm Tony Paniagua. From all of us at Arizona Public Media, have a great night.